all these rejections from the middle Bollinger Band.
Resistance we're going to need.
If you actually see here, we get a
And we'll look for a healthy higher
I
low.
would not
don't have
be
the
convinced
pullback
to
to
enter
cross
long trade.
Howdy crypto friends, hope you're doing well. Bitcoin's still not moving from its 2% range at this point. We've been within it for 7 days. This is the tightest I've ever seen Bitcoin. I've only been watching for a bit over a year and a half, but it's notable and it's making me shift my sentiment. So I'm not going to act on anything until we get breaks of resistance. It's very clear for me the level that I want to see break is 68.23 and 68.10. We had a double top at that level. But the fact that we have consolidated to this point, this tight, after this much pullback, after this much time, I mean, I'm just sitting here racking my brain and going over all the scenarios, and I cannot deny that it has a bullish lean for me. So the fact that we're in this kind of tight range, if I were going to give you an analogy of what's going on in the market right now, imagine you're in a town and you have people that want to buy apples and people that are selling apples. You reach this point of equilibrium supply and demand where pretty much as soon as someone wants an apple, someone's ready to sell an apple, and there's no, backup of people demanding apples and not enough supply. There's no oversupply of apples. It's just this smooth, instant flow of someone wants one right when someone wants to sell one, essentially. So we're standing in this tight range of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's getting, a price now. Everybody knows Bitcoin's at 6,000. It's been roughly at this range for quite some time. And it's that point where, it changes where, let's say the town over gets news of apple blight and the crops are getting crushed. All of a sudden, demand might drop a little bit. Supply is going to, or other way around, supply might drop a little bit if anything's affected by that. And the demand might increase as people, anticipate an apple shortage. That's a news event changing that equilibrium flow. So we're looking for the potential of a news event to be the catalyst here, but we are on the verge of breaking. And if it goes another couple weeks, if we are in mid-November and we have not broken this tight weekly range, then I'll start to talk about manipulation. But at this point, it's still just a perfectly tight pattern, and I'm not ready to call it manipulation, but we know a break's coming. I'm ready for the bull break. I just am going to patiently wait. So here it is on the 4-hour time frame. Again, anytime anything happens with Bitcoin, it's really easy to check in on it. And I see, has it broken this range? And if the answer is no, then I keep going about my life. And Canadian MJ continues to have insane volatility for trading, but it's just this pattern that continues to hold. And we're going to wait for a break. I would be surprised if we don't break by tomorrow. Again, you have to see that volume spike with the break. The daily chart right now has a little bit of extra volume because we entered a bit of a new territory. There's bears pushing the price down and bulls buying the dip. So when you have that, you have a little bit more volume because there's both sides at play. So still low volume. Watch for the spike on the break. That's how we're going to know that it's not a fake out and if it's got, real follow through. And the break, whatever direction it happens in, needs to see 4-hour continuation. So with the bull break, we have to see higher lows and higher highs on the 4-hour. And with a bear break, we have to see lower highs and lower lows for that follow through. And again, the next level we're looking at once we break that range, the initial range, is this broader range on the wild tether candlestick day that we are trading within ever since. Coinbase adding their own coin. Honestly, I forget the... And with the power of editing, I suddenly remember. So it's USDC coin for Coinbase now, and that is essentially like USDT, and that is now going to be featured on Coinbase, and you can send funds instantly. People might. My first question was, if it's essentially the same as USD and it's going to track USD, why does it matter? We've got Coinbase has USD, and the answer was that it can be instantaneously transferred around to anywhere and much more usable than the dollar currently is in terms of cyberspace. So that was news. We also got news that Coinbase received their custodial license. So there's continued progress towards this space having places for larger players to get involved. The question is, do those larger players want to get involved? And will they once they have these avenues? And I do believe that when Fidelity gets involved, it will have a significant impact. So let's talk about Ethereum now. Ethereum on the daily time frame is also in a very tight range. It was a little bit more bearish. We did drop down to a lower level, but we've been consolidating within this range. Again, we just have to look at it on the 4-hour time frame, and 207.97 is that resistance. It's a wider range that we are within. It is about 6% rather than 2%, but it is a very similar range. It is correlated to Bitcoin, no doubt, just not a significant difference at this point. Weekly time frame, that's a mess. Let's hide that real quick. So the weekly time frame is looking to form that higher low and that higher high. We're not seeing anything happen. We're seeing tiny ranges. The daily volume is dropping off significantly, and we're in a patience game. Look at the exponential resistance continuing to drive down the price. Is that going on Bitcoin? Not as clearly. Clearly rejecting the price here on Ethereum. Ripple on the daily time frame, seeing a big pump today with volume behind it. So as soon as we see that, we start looking at the other coins and say, all right, is Bitcoin going to react now? And so far, not a significant reaction, but look at that 4-hour volume. That's the most significant 4-hour bull volume that we've seen since consolidation started. And we have a solid big candlestick for the bulls. So support was down here and it broke. So look at support of 4475, and that broke by 44. It broke by 20.00028. So not a significant break at all, but this is the bull reaction. This is potential that bots stepped in and said, nope, we got to defend this support now, and then just started buying. And that's a possibility. And in my opinion, that's marked by these moves getting no follow through. So this move had a couple hours of follow through. When it's that 5-minute, few candlesticks of upside action, that in my opinion might just be bots reacting to a break of support and trying to defend it, and not enough bears following through to counteract. So we get that quick spike up. This is a little bit more prolonged. That's significant bull volume and a significant defense of this support level. And we also broke some resistance levels, but again, have to see continuation. The first thing I look for in any bull moves in the cryptocurrency space these days is, do we see hourly consolidation and continuation after a big bull move? That's what is a healthy move. That's what puts pressure on bears and shorts. If you don't give them a chance to cover and you just see healthy consolidation and continuation, that is when you know the move is for real and it has some power behind it. So right now we're looking at a 15-minute potential equilibrium with the high and the low. If we form a lower high compared to 4853, we'll look for that lower high and 15-minute equilibrium to play out, watching the exponential support, and likely to see an hourly inside bar currently form on this candlestick. But bulls trying to put an end to this 5-minute brief consolidation at this point, and we'll see if they can turn it around. The bulls do still have momentum on XRP, and so far this is very healthy consolidation. The question mark is, do they get the continuation? So some of the fast movers for the altcoin space, Go BTC, the daily time frame rocket. This reminds me of penny stocks, just looking at these y-axes over here. But it's a huge bull move. Continuation over 837 and a new all-time high, breaking 935, and we ran all the way up into the 12s. So very significant move. Now we're seeing consolidation, and we changed the trend enough that the bulls need to be careful now, because we had the high and the low, which was still a higher low, lower high, lower low, testing exponential support right now, but definitely shifting momentum enough that the bulls need to be cautious. Support is 941 and then 864, and resistance is 11.5 and 12.6. So a significant mover, but party might be over for the time being. If we bounce, we'll look for a lower high compared to 11.5. Have to change the hourly trend back in favor of the bulls to be looking for continuation. But if this consolidation continues, we will be looking for a daily higher low to form here, and there will be a bullish opportunity after that consolidation is done. So personally, I would be watching the hourly time frame, and as long as it's in a downtrend, I'd patiently be waiting. And if it changes that trend, if it's close enough towards support that the risk to reward of the trade were worth it, I might look to take it. BAT BTC, also a significant move on the daily. It too topping out with a bearish reversal, spinning top with a big upper wick, and now pulling back a little bit. So the 4-hour uptrend here was lost as well. Solid consolidation for a significant amount of time, and that's just marked by this hourly, very clear lower high, lower low pattern. At this point, for the bulls to change the hourly trend, we're going to have to hold 3797 as the support level that the bulls just formed. The lower high was 4088. Bulls have to hold this level and then break 4088 to change this hourly trend, which would have us look for a bounce and a 4-hour lower high to form. So whenever I see a development that I'm looking for on a certain smaller time frame, I then zoom out one time frame and see where the most likely scenario is on that time frame. And for this, on the 4-hour, unless there's a solid bull volume spike, it would be the lower high. RVN BTC daily time frame, also a huge move, but now consolidating. It's a daily inside bar. 4-hour lower high and lower low. So watching to see how this daily inside bar breaks. If it breaks bearish, We'll patiently wait for the higher low to form, and if it continues to tighten up, that would be ideal to see the tight pattern on the daily time frame get as tight as possible, and that's when you get the more likely scenario for follow through on the breaks of tightening ranges, the tighter they get. So 4-hour resistance, anything under 841 is a lower high, and we're now looking down at the next support level, and that one is down really nothing nearby. So the next support level is 533, which is why you definitely want to be cautious in this range. Due to the speed we ran up, we did not establish support. The next level that I would be looking at is down at 626. So a significant pullback the last 7 hours in a row. Let's see if we're oversold yet. We have been getting oversold on the 5-minute and now the 15-minute. But that's not the first time. You know, we've said multiple times that the first time after a major bull run that the shorter term time frames hit oversold on the 5-minute time frame, you usually get a solid bounce. And you can see here on these 5-minute time frames, right around oversold is when these bounces got going. But after that wears out for the first time, you get it less and less. And that's what's been happening on the 5-minute. Let's see, the 15-minute, first time it hit 30. On the RSI, again, it led to an hour bounce. We hit it again. We got another couple hour bounce, but now it's fading. It's less powerful. So that's that. And we're still watching Bitcoin. Tight pattern, got buys set for any potential bull breaks. Keeping in mind that if we were to just shoot up out of nowhere for the bulls and break resistance, we would already run about 6% before we even get to that resistance. So have to factor that in when you are placing your stop buys. If it gets tight to the point where it would only take a 1% break to break resistance, then I would look for more capital and a higher risk position, because the bulls will be less exhausted by the time they get over that resistance level, as opposed to a 6% move that would be needed to break those weekly resistance levels. So I hope you all continue to do good things. We raised those funds, or helped attempt to raise those funds for Zach in one of our other videos. So we've got another one here from another member who knows Ruby Warrior Princess, who's fighting leukemia, trying to raise funds as well. I'll put this link in the description. Again, those people who have asked to tip in the past for the daily content, which I appreciate. If you want to just throw it this way, that would be greatly appreciated as well. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon. And here is River Jam, Mammoth National Park, 6 years ago. Pots and pans in a river.